Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013 bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It's Wednesday, January 25th, 2017. We've got a big 10-game slate going today, a little larger than what we're used to. We've seen 9. 10 is a lot, and I think that it's a pretty good slate. I think phenomenal slate. We like these big slates. You get a lot of options. Last night was fun. We had a lot of value open up at the end. Nerlens Noel, I think I kind of had to have him. He was pretty much the only guy that was that cheap that performed that well. What did he put, 40 FanDuel points, something like that? So he had a phenomenal game. I missed the boat on that one. I saw that he was starting, and I just couldn't get out of my head to play certain power forwards that I already had in mind that I wanted. That was a mistake. You know, sometimes you just can't fight the value. The good thing about the NBA is with so many people resting, so many injuries that occur, there's a lot of value that opens up, and sometimes the plays are kind of made for you, and if you go against it, if you don't play the people that theoretically you're supposed to, a lot of times it'll come back and bite you. I know a lot of people tried to pivot off of Powell because they figured he'd be chalky. He was chalky, however, he still did well considering his salary. So it's not always a good idea just to fade somebody just because they're chalk, especially in the NBA. In the NBA, there's probably the least amount of variance opposed to the well, I wouldn't say that. I don't know about the least. I don't know if the NFL either, but I know like baseball, a lot of variance in baseball. In baseball, you almost always want to fade the chalk, and that's because there's so much variance so often that it's worth it. In the NBA, I think a reason that it is so popular in the NBA, especially for guys who love math and love numbers, is because there's a lot less variance. A lot of times, they'll come closer to hitting the number. Now, is there variance? Of course, there's absolutely variance. But in the NBA, there's probably the least amount of variance opposed to sports like the NFL, opposed to sports like especially baseball. But anyway, last night was fun. I didn't do too great. I've been a little cold lately. It's funny because I feel like the big plays I've been giving out have been hitting. It's just the guys in between that I'm finding along my way that I'm not. So I got to change some stuff up. If you're not winning, you got to change some stuff up too. So we're going to keep going position by position. I like the way that flowed yesterday, so we're going to stick with that. I'm going to try to keep the podcast down to around half an hour. So I'm not going to talk about everybody, and I'm not going to go into too much of depth. Let's just go over some of the stuff that I think are worth talking about. So we're going to get started here. Like I said, we got 10 games. We got Sacramento at Cleveland. We got Miami at Brooklyn. Houston at Boston. Atlanta at Chicago. Philly at Milwaukee. Oklahoma City at New Orleans. Golden State at Charlotte. Toronto at Memphis. New York at Dallas. And then, of course, the late night hammer, we've got the Lakers at Portland. So let's get started. We're going to talk about point guards here. Obviously, we got Russell Westbrook. He was the guy that a lot of people kind of jumped off against Utah. What was it, Utah? Yeah, against Utah. And he went nuts. I think he got close to 70. Now, remember, if you remember the slate, he didn't necessarily, you still didn't need to have him. Yes, he did have a phenomenal game. But that same slate, Kyrie and Jrue Holiday went nuts. So, and they both put up 60 each. So you really didn't need Westbrook. But he was the big stud that nobody wanted to play. So I think people might chase today. Now, I don't know for sure because Harden's on the slate. Harden's in a great matchup. But Westbrook was once again in a great matchup. He's 12-5, so his price came back up a little bit. But he's still certainly in play. I'll never tell you to fade Westbrook. Not unless I think that not unless he's going to put you in a position where your lineup is going to look that awful after. There's a lot of value, so I think that it's not going to be too big of a problem fitting in some of these studs. We know about Powell. DeRozan's supposed to be out, so Powell's going to play. Now, the matchup's not as well. I guess yesterday was a tough matchup, too, against the Spurs, but with Kawhi out, that kind of opened things up. And now we got Memphis, another slow-paced team. And it is, I think that you can attack them. I don't think Powell should have too much of a hard time with Tony Allen. But I don't know if you can afford to go there today. There are a lot of options and a lot of people in great spots. Isaiah Thomas, another phenomenal spot. He's on a back-to-back. He's still priced up at 9.3. His price didn't change. He had a terrific game yesterday. I said I thought he would be a great pivot off of Bledsoe. I'm not sure how Bledsoe did. They were the same price. But I said yesterday I really liked Wall. I really liked Thomas. And I think the winning GPP, at least on FanDuel, had both of them. So I missed the boat there, but that's okay. Steph Curry going back home to Charlotte, or at least North Carolina. I think that Steph Curry makes for a very great play today. 8,900. He's still cheaper than Thomas and Westbrook. And he's got a little bit extra narrative going back home. Kyrie is coming off a monster game. I don't think I'm going to be big on Kyrie today. I don't like the matchup. Lowry's interesting, but see, this is the thing with Lowry. You know his usage is going to be there, but it is the back end of a back-to-back. He did play monster minutes yesterday, and it's another slow-paced team. Yesterday, I think, in my opinion, he let me down yesterday. He played 42 minutes, only got 36 fantasy points. That was, in my opinion, that's a letdown. I wasn't too big on Lowry at the beginning of the day, but once they said Kawhi was out, I thought maybe that would open up things for not only Lowry as far as points, but I thought it would be more assists, and he really didn't get a lot of assists. Damian Lillard's in a monster spot, especially without Russell. Don't get me wrong, I love targeting guys against Russell, but I pretty much like targeting guys against all their guards, except for the shooting guards. But Clarkson, Calderon, bring it on. I think Lillard's in a terrific spot. Kemba at home, another great spot. He's playing Golden State, one of the best teams in the league. You know Kemba's going to get up for this one. He's only 7,800. I wouldn't mind going with a Curry and Walker if you can fit that. Of course, there's some studs today, so you might not be able to fit all the guys you want. So he's interesting. Connolly certainly in play against Lowry. Dragic, 7K against Brooklyn. That's a phenomenal spot. I really like this Miami-Brooklyn game. I'm going to have to dig and find out. My biggest problem with this is trying to figure out where to attack from the Brooklyn side. None of the guys are really, as you would say, reliable. But at 7K, with Tyler Johnson expected to be out again, I think that Dragic makes for a fantastic play. Of course, what you have to worry about is now that Waiters is back. Waiters is playing monster minutes, and he's been chucking. So if he's going to keep chucking, that's going to limit the upside for guys like Dragic. I mean, you can get assists, but Waiters is a guy that likes to just kind of create his own shot and just throw it up. So if Waiters is going to keep doing that, which I don't see why he wouldn't in this matchup, there's really nobody to stop him, that could limit the upside of Dragic. But at 7K, I think he's worth a shot. And you know what you're going to get from a guy like Dragic. You know he's going to put up points. You know he's going to get assists. He's a very good defender, which usually bodes well against teams like Phoenix and Brooklyn, who are very turnover prone and kind of sloppy. So I do like the Dragon. I'm off Holiday today, 6,800. Anthony Davis expected to be back. I think the only reason Holiday had such a big game was because Davis was out. His usage went up. But against Oklahoma City, granted, I think they will need him to cover Westbrook. Not that he's the greatest defender, but you saw without Anthony Davis, he played 39 minutes. He doesn't do that anymore. Before that, he played 4 straight games under 30 minutes. So I think that's more realistic. But then again, like I said, they might need to play him because of Westbrook. So he's interesting, but coming off a 62-point game, I'm not going to chase, and I'm concerned some people are going to chase. And with Anthony Davis in there, then they're just not going to need him as much on the offensive end. Derrick Rose is okay, 6,700. It's pace down spot, so I'm not too crazy about it, but he's certainly in play. Schroeder's pretty interesting, 66. He's at that number. I just won't play him. I'm not going to play that number, but that's my own superstition kind of thing. And he's in play against Chicago. Chicago has been struggling against point guards, although last night they may have done okay. I don't really remember. But yeah, I think he's in play. Darren Williams, 6,300. The price is good, but I don't think I like the matchup against New York. Point guards that can shoot well, higher field goal percentages, typically do better against the Knicks. And Darren Williams, while he can shoot, I'm a little concerned about how many shots. I mean, don't get me wrong, with Brea out, he's certainly in play. Seth Curry certainly in play, but he's coming off a game against Dallas. He got 31 FanDuel points in 26 minutes. So he's up and down. He's a little more volatile. His floor is as low as 17. His ceiling's as high as 40. So he's interesting, but he's not a guy that I'm dying to play. I like Marcus Smart today. He kind of let me. Yesterday he did okay. He kind of let me down. He got 20-something points. I played him a lot, and I think this is a good spot for him to bounce back. He plays that 2 position. Bradley's supposed to be out. I want to say Gerald Green is still out, and yeah, I believe I know he's sick. I don't know if he's gonna sit out today, but I'm pretty sure he is. And if that's the case, fire up Marcus Smart. I don't see anybody on the Houston side that'll stop him. The only problem, of course, is he's a horrible shooter. He took a lot of shot attempts. I was lucky that he even hit 20. The dude took a lot of. I think at one point, I don't know exactly what he was. Oh, okay, what was he here? I don't know exactly what he shot, but I know his shooting percentage was terrible. It was something similar to the line he put up the game before with the 5 for 15, 1 for 7 for 3. It was something similar. He got most of his points in that second half, and it was ugly. I think his first, I think he was 1 for 11 at one point. So he's in a great spot. It's just he's a terrible shooter. So if he can get the shooting going, you're good. But that's a big if for a guy that hasn't been very good shooting. Let's see. We've got. Where were we? So I think Patrick Beverley is interesting. 5,600. I like targeting point guards against Isaiah. That's why I liked Wall so much yesterday. And I think you can do the same thing with Beverley. Now, he hasn't been playing as well lately. He's been kind of up and down. But he's certainly still in play at 5,600. Jordan Clarkson's an interesting GPP play. Oh, I skipped over McConnell. I'm sorry. McConnell's definitely interesting, 5,500. I like him better with Embiid. It just gives him another guy to get assists. McConnell's not really a big scorer. If you notice his points, 3 straight games he hasn't broken double-digit points. Now his fantasy production's been okay because he is a high assist guy. He had 10 assists last night. He was 1 point shy of a double-double. So McConnell certainly in play at 5,500. You just wonder about the upside in a slate like this where you might need a lot of upside. Clarkson's coming off the bench. He's interesting at 5,400. He's definitely the better producer out of him and Calderon, even though Calderon might get the start. So he's interesting, but again, you got to worry about the minutes. It's a high-scoring game, and you have to wonder. I think this spread is pretty high, so you do have to worry about the blowout potential, but I still think he's in a pretty good spot here. Again, no, you worry about the upside on a slate like this where you're going to need some monster upside. I know he's put up close to 40 before, but he doesn't do that very often, so you want to see. This is the matchup for him to do something like that, but I'm not big on Brogdon today against McConnell. McConnell's actually a better defender than I had previously thought. I actually watched some clips of him, and he's actually a pretty good. He's not bad. He's decent. So I don't think I want Brogdon there, especially because his minutes have been down. Calderon, if you want to take a shot, he's certainly in play. 4K is a big-time punt. His usage isn't the best. He's an old man, but like I said, if a lot of times attacking at this. Oh, actually, never mind. Forget what I said. Even though he starts, his minutes have been horrible. 19 minutes and 18 minutes in his last 2 games, even as a starter. So I won't be playing any Calderon. I don't recommend you do it either. Moving on to the shooting guard position. Let's see. Harden's obviously Harden. He's 12-1. His price came back. I mean, who's going to stop him here? I think they'll try to put Smart on him, or maybe even Crowder. No, they can't put Crowder on him. They're going to need Crowder on Ariza. So Smart's going to be on Harden. I'm not really scared of that. I'm not really scared of too many people guarding Harden at all. I'm more scared of the team in general. When Harden's playing a pace-down spot as a team, that's what concerns me. It's not about, oh, he's going to be covered by such and such, because the person himself ain't going to stop him. It takes an entire team to stop a guy like James Harden. It takes a pace to be slowed down. And while Boston has been playing at a bit of a slower pace, their defense has really suffered this year. So I do like Harden a lot. I think Giannis is okay. I'm not going crazy over him, but I think he's okay. I don't know why. It's 10-4. It's just the matchup doesn't pop out to me. Phillies, don't get me wrong. You know, you can attack Philly certainly, but I don't know. I don't have a really good read for that game in general. So Giannis at 10-4 is perfectly fine. I understand it. I don't have a great feel for it. Philly's playing on the back end of a back-to-back also. McCollum certainly in play against the Lakers. 8,100. He's cheaper than Lillard. I think that obviously Lillard is in the better matchup though, but he's certainly in play. Batum 7,100. He's gonna have probably I want to say they have Clay on him. Clay isn't a terrible defender, but I think that you can attack a guy like him. So I don't know how the correlation is with Batum and Kemba. I don't know if there's a positive correlation there. So I typically play one or the other, but you certainly can play both. But I think I would rather go with Kemba defending the home court. But if you want to go, Batum is cheaper than Kemba. So if you want to go with like Batum and Curry, that's certainly fine. But I like Curry a lot today. Dwayne Wade's had 2 monster games. He's in another great spot. Atlanta's terrible against 2 guards, so he's in another great spot. But he's still priced at 7K on a back end of a back-to-back at his age. I know he's going to play, but we don't know how many minutes he's going to play, and we don't know if he's going to have it in him to put up another game like that on the back end of a back-to-back. He got 46 points, 46.9 FanDuel points yesterday, but that was because he had 7 steals. He had 14 fantasy points just in steals. So that's a high number, even for a good defender, even against like a very turnover-prone team, which they played the Magic, who were pretty thin last night and probably a little tired. But still, 7 steals is not something you can really bank on. So if you take away 7 steals, that's 14 FanDuel points. It's still above 30, but when you're paying 7K, you want a little more than that. So I don't think I'm going to be big on Wade today. I think some people would chase, and I would rather play a guy like Batum. I'd rather pay $100 extra, go with a guy like Batum against Golden State, to be honest, in a pace-up spot. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's certainly in play. I think they might. I don't know if they're going to put Batum on Durant or if they're going to let MKG cover Durant. MKG and Batum are 2 of their better defenders. And I think they consider Batum to be the better one. So I don't know if they'll put him on Klay, if they'll put him on Durant. One of these, Durant and Klay, one of them is going to have MKG, one of them is going to have Batum. Both tough matchups, but with Golden State, they move the ball so much, they can find a way to get somebody open. They create a lot of need for rotation because of how much they move the ball around. So Klay is still in play. His price is down. He's been kind of cold lately. He did have a pretty good game, his most recent performance. He did okay, 37 minutes against Miami, 33.5. But we know that what Klay's capable of. We know he's capable of putting up 60-something points. He did that in 29 minutes back in December 5th. Remember that. So we know what he's capable of. If his ownership's going to be low, I'll ride with him. And like I do like that Golden State Charlotte game a bit. Am I concerned about the blowout factor? A little bit. Line opened up at 7.5, went to 9.5. So I'm a little concerned about the blowout factor and the fact that Charlotte's haven't been playing well in general. But I still think it's okay. I think you can take a shot on the Golden State and Charlotte guys both in this game with a high total. But especially as a pivot off of that Houston-Boston game, because you know people are going to be all over that Houston-Boston game. with a high total, close spread. Deion Waiters, he's 6K. You know he's going to chuck, so I think he's perfectly fine in cash games. They have no choice but to play him with Tyler Johnson out. So he's going to keep chucking. His price is up at 6K, which I'm not crazy about, just because even though he's had 2 consistent games with Miami, we know his floor can be pretty low at times. So he's certainly in play. I'm not telling you not to play him. I just wish his price wouldn't have came up this high, but I get why. I understand why. Oladipo's in an okay spot. Not too big on him today. I do like Eric Gordon. If you want to fade Harden, I would do it with. I don't know if I'd recommend fading Harden completely, but if you want to fade Harden in a lineup or two, Eric Gordon's a good guy to put in there instead. 5,700. You still get exposure to that Houston game, and you want to talk about consistency. Except for the couple games he played when he first got back from his injury, the guy before the injury, I should say, has been pretty consistent. Now he's been struggling to find a shot lately. I think that's just some rust that's been going on for a little while. I'll admit that. He missed 2 games, and ever since he came back, he hasn't really been the same. He's coming off a terrible performance. I know he's going to want to bounce back, and he's playing a bad defensive team. A big opportunity for him to bounce back. So I do like Eric Gordon today. Lou Williams at 5,700. You got to think on the Lakers side, he's the guy to go with. With Russell out, Lou Williams sees the most of a usage increase. Now, he comes off the bench, which scares people off. So if you don't want to play Gordon and you want to pivot to somebody else, Lou Williams is interesting. Now, I am concerned about his ownership because, 1, he's 5,700. And 2, I think everybody knows that when D'Angelo Russell is out, they kind of just let Lou Williams chuck. So I'm a little concerned about the ownership there, but without a doubt, he definitely gets the usage bump he gets the biggest usage bump with D'Angelo Russell out, and it gets pretty high. It goes from somewhere in the mid or high 20s to the 30s, I believe. So he's definitely in play. Let's see. Tyreek is a game time decision with an ankle. I'm not really big on him anyway. He's burned me too many times, and you just don't know what they're going to do with the minutes. I don't mind Evans when people are out, but when people are healthy, especially Anthony Davis, there's really no point in trying unless you know he's going to get run. Wesley Matthews is actually in a really good spot. He's a game time decision with a hip. The Knicks are still bad against shooting guards, and he's in a great spot. It's just, what have you done for me lately, kind of, like he hasn't. Now that they got most of their guys back and healthy, he really has not been playing well. He's been playing a lot, but the way he's been playing lately, he's basically like Courtney Lee, but more expensive. So it's hard for me to pull the trigger. He does have upside. We've seen him have those games, but that typically doesn't happen unless guys are out. So if nobody's going to be out, which I don't think that's the case, I don't think I'm going to be too big on Wesley Matthews, even though he's in a great spot. I may have him in 1 or 2 lineups just because I don't think too many people will have him, and he is in a really good spot, but he's not somebody that pops out at the board at you. I'm going to move on. We could talk about other guys, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. We're trying to cut the show down to a shorter time frame. So LeBron's okay, 10-7. I think he's a little priced up. I just don't see what the upside is there. If he hits 50, all he's doing is hitting value. He's not really going to surpass. So in cash games, you want to take a shot, be my guest. I would rather play Kevin Durant in cash games at 10-3, pace up spot. And even though he's literally – the LeBron James is definitely easier, especially with Rudy Gay out. But Kevin Durant's in a pace-up spot, so I think I feel a little safer with Durant, especially for $400 cheaper. Jimmy Butler certainly in play against Atlanta, 9,500. I'm not too concerned about Atlanta's been playing better defensively, and Thabow's a big reason for that. Thabo would probably be on Butler, but I'm not really concerned. Butler is somebody who's proven to be fairly matchup-proof. It's pretty much the only person that can really stop him is him. I'm not big on Melo today. He's 8K on the road in a pace-down spot, so I'm not too big on him. That's all I'm going to really say about him. Harrison Barnes certainly in play, 6,200. His price is nice, considering that they do rely on him a lot, especially this year. Dirk is old. They're missing Bogut. Dirk's been playing center. So Barnes has been playing a lot of the 4. And I think that I don't know if they're going to keep him on Porzingis. I'm interested to see what they do with that. I just don't see them being able to. Well, first let me check and make sure that Bogut is out before I even go there. He's a game time decision. If Bogut plays, Barnes will be covering Melo. If Bogut is out, then Barnes will be covering the 4, which would be Porzingis. I don't think that's a good matchup. I could see them putting Dirk on Porzingis. Either way, we'll talk about Porzingis in a minute, but I think Porzingis is in a great spot today regardless. Jay Crowder's interesting. He's going to have a Ariza defense. He's just not a guy that I love to play. Yesterday, he got off to a hot start, and I was like, oh, man, I don't play him, and this is the day he's going to go nuts. And he didn't. He finished with a typical Crowder game. 17 points was pretty good. 6 rebounds, 3 assists. 28.7 FanDuel points. That's pretty much what you've grown to understand you're going to get. Now, he's been consistent again since that little – he had a little period where I was playing him a lot. He just stopped being consistent. He was just hitting his floor in every game. He found a stroke. He's been a lot more consistent. His minutes have been there. His minutes have been there because Bradley's out. So if you want to play a guy like Crowder in cash in a pace-up spot at 5,600, I understand. I'm not mad about it. But the guy has burned me several times. It seems like when I don't play him, that's when he gets consistent. When I play him, he just struggles. Covington had a big game yesterday. He's 5,400. He's worth a shot in GPPs, but to me, he's too scoring dependent for me. Now, granted, they do need his scoring with Embiid out, and Embiid will be out. However, he just had a pretty good shooting day yesterday, I think. I know he got 35.6 FanDuel points. He's been consistent lately, so he's worth a shot. But check how he is in back-to-backs. I didn't get a chance to do that, so check how he is in back-to-backs before you make your decision. I think MKG's in a good spot. He's 5,300. Pace-up spot. This guy, he's not so big on scoring, but he does get, he does play good defense. And in a pace-up game, you could expect some turnovers. And typically he gets minutes. He hasn't done so against Washington, but I think they were struggling against Washington. That's why. But he typically is going to play 30-plus, maybe 35 minutes or so, especially they're going to need his defense, I think, against Golden State. So he should see a lot of minutes. At 5,300, I think he's definitely in play. Trevor Ariza, also 5,300. I think he's a good correlation play with Harden every night. Now, he's going to have Crowder defense, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of rotations and switches when Harden drives, which should leave some open threes for guys like Ariza, Anderson, and those guys. So I do like Ariza at 5,300. I don't love him, but I think I will have some exposure to him. Brandon Ingram, he's the last guy I'll talk about real quick for small forwards. He's interesting. He's 4,400. They've been playing him at the point. I've heard a lot of people compare him to Kevin Durant. He's not there yet. All they see a tall, skinny dude that can score, and they assume he's going to be like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a freak of nature. He's not. There's not going to be a guy like Kevin Durant for a little while. Now, is Ingram good? Yeah, I think he will be good. I watched him at Duke, but he played alongside Grayson Allen, who took up a lot of the attention on him. So, with him running the point, he just really hasn't done much. Can you take a shot on him? Sure. I think he's been playing backup point guard. You can take a shot on him, sure, but he can certainly score. But he's still got to figure this whole NBA thing out. And the coach, you can see that the coaches see potential. They're trying to give him some run. But you got to remember, he played 1 year at Duke and came out. So he's young. He left Duke. He was a freshman in college. He's young. He needs to put on some weight. His minutes have been there, so he's in play. I think this is a shot you can actually take a shot on him. I think he could be able to get you around 20 fantasy points. And if he maximizes his opportunities, you're looking at probably around maybe 30. I think 30 is probably his upside. So his ceiling is probably 30. At 44, 30 would be great, especially in a position where small forward is pretty nasty today. Outside of LeBron and Durant, and even Butler, it gets a little ugly going down. So it's going to be hard to find some small forwards you actually feel comfortable with. And so if you're not going to feel comfortable anyway, you may as well play a guy like Brandon Ingram. Moving on to power forward. Let's see. This ain't right here. Okay, Anthony Davis, game time decision. I think he's expected to play. I like Anthony Davis here, especially. I don't know if Adams is out yet. Let me check real quick and see what they have on it. Adams, it looks like he's going to play. That it makes me not like Anthony Davis as much. And I still like him because he had a day off, and I think that some people have been annoyed with his whole not playing, announcing last minute. So his ownership is still going to be fairly low, especially with Harden, Westbrook going today. So I think he's definitely in play. He's definitely interesting. Of course, you do have to worry about his injury, and also you have to worry about Adams' defense, and then when Cantor comes in. Those are two guys that pretty much can stay around the rim and make things difficult for him. Of course, Anthony Davis, where he has an advantage, is he can hit outside shots, and I don't think Cantor or Adams will be very good at getting out to defend him. So I think he is in a good spot. I think he's definitely playable. Obviously, I prefer him in GPPs. I don't really like playing Anthony Davis in cash ever, unless I have to. We're still waiting on a total and a line for this. I guess they're waiting for final confirmation of Anthony Davis is playing or not. But I think if he does play, he's definitely in play. And remember the rule, if he doesn't play, which I think he will, but if he doesn't play, fire away Terrence Jones. I know the matchup isn't the best. I don't care. Fire away Terrence Jones. That's just what he does. What else? What power forward is? Millsap's decent play. 8,300. I think he's too expensive. I just don't think you have to go there, but he's certainly in play. I don't see anybody on Atlanta who's going to be able to stop him. Taj Gibson or Mirotic ain't going to stop him. I'm just worried. 8,300. I think there's guys in other spots you could play. Jabari had a monster game for me against Houston. That was a bounce-back spot. That was very particular. He was playing with high intensity, high emotion. He's in a good spot again today, but at 7,900, I don't think you have to go there. I'd rather play a guy like Draymond at 7,700 against Charlotte. I think he's in just as good a spot. And Draymond gets a lot of assists. He's not just about the scoring. So Jabari's okay, but like I said, I don't have a great feel for the Philly-Milwaukee game. I'm not crazy about it. And I could be wrong for that. I'm not telling you not to be. I just don't have a good feel for it. I don't watch enough of their games. I don't know enough about their teams. With Embiid in, I think you can kind of get a gauge for how it's going to go. But with Embiid out, it kind of changes everything up. Guys like Ilyasova get more run. Guys like Nerlens Noel, so you don't really know exactly what's going to go on. Kevin Love, I'm not too big on this game in general. Even Boogie, I'm not too big on Boogie. But he's 7,700. You could certainly take a shot. I don't know. I don't think they have anybody that'll be able to stick out at the three-point range with Love. So he's certainly in play. I like Draymond today. He's probably my, outside of Curry, he's probably my second favorite Golden State Warrior because he gets rebounds. He's actually, I think he's one of the assist leaders on the team, and he gets a lot of assists to Klay Thompson. So if you want to fade Curry, fade Durant, but you want exposure, maybe you can go like Klay and Draymond. Just a suggestion, but I like Curry a lot today. I don't know if I'm going to be playing too much of Klay or Draymond. I will have some exposure, but yeah, I like Curry. Porzingis is priced all the way down to 6,700. I think that's a steal. I know he's been struggling. I know, and this matchup is a pace down spot, but I don't see anybody. If Bogut is in, I understand maybe back off. But if Bogut is not going to play, now I'm hoping he's out. If Bogut is out, who's going to stop Porzingis? They're either going to have to put Dirk on him, or they're going to have to put Barnes on him. Well, I guess they could put in a guy like Powell or whatever the case is, but I think Porzingis, if Bogut is in, that obviously makes things different. But if Bogut is out, I think it becomes a matchup problem for Dallas. The reason I say that is because Bogut is obviously a good rim defender. Dirk is not a good rim protector. He's not. So if you have a guy like Porzingis, a young guy like Porzingis and Dirk are like on the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Porzingis is early in his career, very young, and then you have Dirk, who is very old at the end of his career. I don't see Dirk keeping up with Porzingis. I really don't. So if Porzingis and Dirk have to match up, I love Porzingis, especially at 6,700. I know he's been struggling, and I'm not saying to put him in cash because he has been struggling since coming back. He's been very, very bad. But I think at 6,700, you can take a shot. And the only good news, the only positive, if he duds on you, is his price is going to come down some more. And you know what he's capable of. So at 6,700, I think he's got a great ceiling. He could put up 60 for you. I don't think he's going to put up 60 today because his minutes haven't been there. His minutes have to be there for you to get that kind of upside. But I think if he plays 30 minutes, which he has been, I think he's definitely more than capable of putting up a 40-burger, potentially even 50. So I do like Porzingis at 6,700. I think he's a great value. Julius Randle's in a great spot, 6,500. Now, the Lakers in general have been struggling. With D'Angelo Russell out, I know Lou Williams likes to chuck, but they're going to have to rely on Randle a bit more, and he has not been playing very well. He had a stretch where he was crushing. He's been struggling. I think he could bounce back against Portland. It's a good matchup for him against Aminu, so I do like Randle here. Cantor goes back to the bench, 6,200. I always like Cantor, but he's too expensive for me at 6,200. You could take a shot. I just think there's other guys in better positions. Even Ilyasova, he's going to take more, so many shots. At 6K, he's $200 cheaper. So Cantor's okay. Illy's okay. Even Zebo is good at 5,900. There's a lot of power forwards I like today. James Johnson. Only like Terrence Jones if Anthony Davis is out. And if you notice, his price came up to 5,800. So there goes the bargain on Terrence Jones. But yeah, so far I like most of these guys. I don't like Dirk. He's one guy I don't like today against the Knicks. Aminu was even in a good play. Aminu was perfectly fine playing with Randle. 5,400. Aminu's been playing fairly well. He's been pretty consistent. His price is coming back down to a point where I'm comfortable. I didn't like him when he was up at the 57, 58. I didn't like him high fives. But mid 5 to low 5 and even high 4s, absolutely. Why not? He's been struggling lately, but his minutes are there. And Lakers are pretty bad against power forwards, so I think he's in play. Rashawn Holmes, 4,600, definitely an option. And, of course, Nerlens Noel at 4,100, definitely an option. He's only 4,100. I'm assuming if Okafor is going to be out, he's going to be the guy again. He'll split some time with Holmes. I'm a little surprised that Holmes is more expensive. I don't really know why that is. Holmes just got back from the D-League. But, keep an eye. It could be a trick. If Nerlens Noel is going to be super chalky, it could be an interesting pivot to move to a guy like Rashawn Holmes. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying it's something worth considering. Ryan Anderson's in play. Don't like Taj. So that's pretty much it for power forward. Just general outlook on power forward. As far as centers, you got Boogie going tonight. I loved Boogie the other night, and he did me justice, but I don't like him today against Cleveland. I know his usage is super high. I understand all that. But Cleveland, they're very good at collapsing down and protecting their rim. So I'm not too big on Boogie. I like his price. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's other guys who are cheaper who are in just as good of spots, if not better spots. Speaking of which, I love Whiteside today. 9,200. Here's my problem. My problem is I like both Whiteside and Brolo. On DraftKings, it wouldn't be an issue. You can figure out a way to play them both with the utility spot, of course. You can even play Boogie at the power forward. You can have Boogie, Whiteside, and I mean, you got to find value. But hypothetically, you can have Brolo, Whiteside, and Boogie. You can go 3 centers and kill it. Center's a hot spot today. There's a lot of good center matchups. I like Whiteside. Brolo is not a good defender. And Brooklyn in general is a horrible rebounding team. So I think Whiteside could really eat. He's 9,200. He's still cheaper than Boogie by over 1,300. So I definitely love Whiteside today. I like Marcus Gasol even 8,400 against Toronto. I think he could. I'm not worried about Valanciunas. Valanciunas ain't gonna be able to defend him out of the 3. So Gasol's also in a monster spot. Horford even's in a good spot. I'm not crazy about Horford. I never really am. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's a good player and I like him. I just, for some reason, I'm never big on playing him. I think it has a lot to do with his price at 7,300. And on today's slate especially, I would rather play Brolo. So I'm going to have a tough decision to make between Brolo or Whiteside. I like Brolo too. He's a usage monster as it is. He doesn't need anybody to be out. There's nobody else on that team who could score like he can. Whiteside is not a good defender. He's not a good rim protector. Not to mention Brolo don't need to be by the rim. He likes to take a lot of jump shots. So I do like Brolo at 7,300. Now, there's a few guys on Miami that we already like. We like Dragic. We like Waiters. So I can see merit in playing Brook Lopez just to play somebody from Brooklyn. He's the only guy on the Brooklyn side that you can play and not feel too scared or terrified about it. And obviously, he's cheaper than Whiteside and Cousins both. But I think for me personally, Whiteside and Brolo, that's going to be a tough decision. And I think one of those guys is going to have a pretty big game. They probably both will. It's just which one's going to have the bigger game. Now, if Brolo gets 40 and Whiteside gets 45, obviously Brolo was the better play because he was significantly cheaper, almost $2,000 cheaper. But if Brolo gets you 40 and Whiteside gets you 60, obviously Whiteside was the guy you wanted because that 20 extra FanDuel points is going to could win or lose you. It could make or break you in a GPP. So I definitely like Brolo and Whiteside. That's going to be the theme of today's episode, or at least the title. Howard's okay, 7K. I'm not too crazy about playing Howard in general. Pace down spot, but he should feast against Robin Lopez. Mason Plumlee's in a phenomenal spot. He's 6,500. Definitely, I think a solid cash game play. His price ain't going to kill you. And he's in a pace-up spot, which should be a lot of rebounds. And not to mention the obvious, the Lakers are horrible against centers and bigs in general, really. So I do like Mason Plumlee a lot at 65. But I think that he's probably somebody I would more so play in cash. And then Brolo and Whiteside are guys I would consider for GPPs. But I definitely like Plumlee today. I don't like Valanciunas. Adams is okay. I'm not crazy about him coming back from that concussion. I'm really not crazy about him at all. Greg Monroe is playable with Embiid out. 5,400, his price came back down. So I think he's playable, but he has been playing as well lately as far as I remember. Let me just double check real quick. Cody Zeller, for those of you who want to play him for his rebound upside, he's a game-time decision with a quadriceps injury. The guy just can't stay healthy. So yeah, Monroe played 27 minutes against Houston. He got 34.5 FanDuel points. So this is another spot I think he can do well in. Like I said, there's so many centers that I don't know if I'll go there, but there's also a lot of studs, so you may want to punt at center, and there's some decent options there, and Monroe is one of them. Joakim Noah is okay, but if I'm going to go with the Knicks, I'll probably go with a guy like Willie Hernan-Gomez. He's 4,500. He's cheaper than Noah, and to be honest, if you have been watching, I've been looking at Twitter and all that, they want to go with this guy, at least the fans. The fans want to go with Hernan-Gomez. He got 24 minutes against Indiana. 24 minutes. Noah only played, I don't remember what he played. He played under 20, obviously. They don't play Noah and Hernan-Gomez together, so obviously he played under 20. But let me see exactly what he got. 12 minutes. Noah got 12 minutes against Indiana and only 20 against Phoenix. So Noah's production and his minutes have kind of been on the down trail, or down slope, whatever you want to call it. But I like Hernan-Gomez. I think it's a good punt. But like I said, I don't know how much exposure I'm going to have because I really like the center position today. Kyle O'Quinn's a guy that was getting run, but not anymore. It seems like they're kind of moving on past him, at least for now. Kelly Olynyk, 4,100. I would rather play Kelly Olynyk today than Kyle O'Quinn. That goes without saying. I think Olynyk can have a big game. It's a matter of how many minutes he's going to get. If he gets the minutes, this is a bad defensive team. He could really feast, especially from the outside. Guys like Capella, guys like Harrell, those guys, I don't see them getting out there as well. They're usually not as comfortable playing out there. So I think Olynyk is in a decent spot if you want to punt, and that's pretty much it. So obviously we didn't go as in depth as we have in the past. It's just because we want to try to make this about half an hour. We understand there's a lot of different podcasts you want to watch, a lot of different things you got to do. We don't want to take up all your time in watching one podcast. So hope you enjoyed the pod. If you like it, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to us, and please hit that like button, that thumbs up button. Please hit that for us. We really appreciate that. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow there. If you're listening on iTunes, give us a subscribe to us there. If you're not a member of WiseTake.com, please sign up. It's a free membership. You get access to our free NBA raw projections as well as our cheat sheets. And, of course, you get access to our forums, which I'm trying to get going. So, guys, if you are a member already, please start asking me some questions on there. Obviously, you can reach me on Twitter at CK_013 or the WiseTake Twitter at Wise_Take. But that's going to do it for us. Really had fun talking to you today. And as always, good luck.